got in this awesome used original Rygar marquee from Escape Pod Online. It also came with my reproduction control panel overlay. We're going to be getting both of these set up on the cabinet, and what I did was I just wanted to test fit the marquee, and as you can see, there's probably about an inch maybe of difference. There's also maybe eighth of an inch on the side that could come off. I'm going to see how I feel about that, but really need to trim about an inch from the top here. So it's installed upside down because there is this lip up here, so measuring is kind of difficult because there's this lip in the top of the board. So what I wanted to do was install it upside down, and what I've got here is just a dry erase marker, because I figure we should be cutting off whatever part that I mark, but this might just allow it to come off if for whatever reason there is any any leftover, that we're not doing something like a Sharpie, which is going to be a lot more permanent, and this should wipe off pretty easily if we need to. So I've got that marked, and I want to check out, see what that edge looks like. Hopefully, so this is the problem, it's a little too wide, so getting it in here and out isn't the cleanest. Yeah, okay, we've got a pretty decent marking of the edge there. So hopefully what we can do is clamp this down with some boards, maybe some towels to protect it from scratching, and then just use a scoring knife to kind of go over it a bunch of times, and then snap it. And hopefully the board will help it kind of snap, guide the scoring knife, get a nice clean score, nice clean snap, maybe a little bit of sandpaper. And then this should fit back in here pretty nicely. So I'm going to get that. I'm going to take off the control panel, disassemble it as the case may be. And hold on. What we're going to do is install this brand new control panel overlay onto the existing control panel. And yeah, it looks like it's a little wide, so we'll definitely measure a little, make sure we're not trimming anything we don't want to. We're going to get this on there, and I think once it's cleaned up, this is going to look pretty cool. Now, honestly, my understanding is really the Rygar conversions were kind of built for a slightly later cabinet than this. Obviously, this had one installed on it, but I don't think they were necessarily designed for this cabinet. So there's a number of things we're going to have to just make decisions on as I go through this, right? So if I kind of just lay this out, right? I want a little bit of overlay so it can wrap around the edge on both sides, right? And that's likely going to mean is that Rygar, like the top of the words might be here. These either coin buttons, or I'm really thinking I might switch this over to player 1 and 2 at some point, but these buttons are probably going to be in the middle of the letters. And there really isn't a ton to do about that. It's just kind of the way that, I mean, this is very close to the original, control panel overlay. So honestly, that's probably how it would have been on this cabinet. I mean, you can even see this is an original bezel, and the bottom here is cut off, right? Because it's a conversion kit, and you're just kind of doing what they had to do to get it into this cabinet. So things aren't going to be perfect. Things aren't going to perfectly align. That's okay. What I've done, since I'm going to be working on some artwork-related projects tonight, I put this towel down over my workbench just to make sure that we don't have any sort of dust or anything getting on here. And then what I have here is my, I need a longer piece of wood to do this. Let me get this old shelf. So, I have double checked, measured, remarked my points here on the board, and they're 1 1/16 from the top of the board. So I think the only thing we're really going to lose is a bit of this guy's hand. And what I want to do is bring these kind of flush with the 2 measured points. Bring this board in, okay? Move this up a little bit, and then what I want to do is take my vise, and I want to clamp this board down on top of the plexi, and then I have my glass cutter. And what I want to do is I want to just use this board to ride the glass cutter along. That way when I'm scoring this, there's really no room for me to kind of wiggle or wobble, because I've got that board there kind of keeping the straight edge. Doesn't seem like it's anywhere close to being ready to break. Oh, let me do some research and see what I find. Well, we're over at the table saw, and we'll see how this goes. The glass cutter just was not doing the trick. So I looked around online, and I found some videos suggesting that a table saw could be used along with a piece of wood, and that the wood would basically stop the plexi from fluttering up and down so much. So we're going to see how that goes. Probably just going to make a little cut at first, and then if it's good, we'll continue that process. I know the biggest thing is cracking and splintering, but also I'm kind of realizing like this entire top edge is going to be hidden under the lip, so hopefully if anything happens, it really wouldn't be a huge deal. But obviously the glass cutter method and breaking it really wasn't going to work, so let's give this a shot. Looks pretty good. So I think I'm going to need to line back up and readjust my board, and I think this method is going to be just fine at the end of the day for exactly my purposes. put a chip, of course. I think the problem is that I should not have this set in there at the same time that I turned the saw on. I just wanted to make sure my wood wasn't quite as long as this. Well, let's take it back up and see how it looks. Well, I may have gotten lucky. The piece still doesn't quite fit, and so I'm pretty certain that I need to cut another 1/4 of an inch off. So get this aligned. It should be just 1/4 of an inch, not 1 1/4 inches. Oh, that could have been real bad. Okay, so that should be another 1/4 of an inch. Now, I do have to figure out exactly what I'm going to do with this board. I think what may make sense is cut till this board, got some room in there, cut till this board runs out. Use a block to push, but cut till the board runs out, and then flip it and run it from the other side. The only problem is that right now these sides are not even, so let's get at least cut to the edge of the board and go from there. That at least even the sides out and gives me a better chance of the chip hiding in the channel, so let's go see how it fits now. All right, I mean, it's far from perfect. Obviously, if you look real close, you can see that chip in the plexi, but honestly, for my first time ever cutting plexiglass, I am not upset with this one bit. That looks sick. Especially you combine it with the bezel. Oh yeah. All right, well, let's go do the control panel overlay. Hopefully I have similar luck. And it's time to apply the control panel overlay. And so one thing you'll notice is I'm going to be attempting to do this using a different method than most people. Most people insist on using a felt covered plastic squeegee. My problem with that is, like, around here nobody has them. The craft stores don't carry them, the hardware stores don't carry them, and so I really don't like using tools that I can't go to the store and get. Obviously I could get them on Amazon, but I went to Joanne Fabrics and what I got is this. This is a little plastic roller that is used for decoupage. It's used for getting air bubbles out. The same thing that you want to do when you're squeegeeing or doing whatever with the vinyl overlay. And because it's a roller, it should not really cause any stress, right? And I also have this little very soft plastic, almost a rubber kind of squeegee type thing. And so I really think that, because honestly, this vinyl here, if this can't take this little rubber squeegee or this little roller, then what is it going to do long term on my control panel? You know, obviously you don't want something hard with a sharp edge. So what I'm doing here is I'm gonna do this a little differently than some people. Some people really like to look at it from the front, shine a super bright flashlight through, see where stuff lines up. But there's kind of two differences here with this control panel overlay. For one, you know, it's not a Pango. It doesn't have anything that needs to line up in a particular spot with the controls, right? Just kind of a pattern and the logo. Two, as we saw with the marquee, like, this is a conversion kit. This cabinet is honestly probably not even what it was intended to go into. So, like, this just is never going to line up exactly how you want it. So what I want to do is I want to do some measuring. So the way I'm going to line this up is by I want the Rygar words like as much down on the player 1 and player 2 part as I can get them. And so that means I want this top edge to just be a little lip that bends over. Now the side edges, I do not plan on cutting these. I'm thinking what we'll do is we'll cut out little notches and then we're gonna fold these over. I think that that's gonna give you just like a little extra layer of protection, and I like that. So what I've got is I got some blue painter's tape and I've got my tape measure. Because honestly, if I want this thing to be straight, one of the best ways to do that is just to make sure that my distances are the same. So like, I'll just pick 1 inch, okay? So I have a 1 inch wrap over. And then if I align, okay, that side is aligned at 1 inch. And that side's a little low, we'll bring it up to 1 inch. Okay. So if that's 1 inch all the way across, we should be good. Now, let's look at centering. It's about a ½ inch there. About 3/4 of an inch there. Try to adjust it over like 1/16. It also doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. Go. There we go. That looks pretty good. Let's double check these. All right, let's shift it up a little. Shift it up a little on both sides. Okay. So now, what I want to do is I want to kind of tape in several spots, just using blue painter's tape. Now, I'm going to have to do a little bit of a wraparound method because of, actually, you know what? I think what I'm going to do is cut those notches. I probably need a craft knife for this. Oh, let me go grab one. Okay, so I just take this craft knife. Just gonna kind of come from here out. Use the towel down so it's really not going to dull the edge. Just cut out this little square at the corner. I'm going to do the same thing over here. And then what that's going to let me do is I probably need to notch this similarly around where it's going to bend. Okay. What I'm going to be able to do is kind of fold this piece over until I'm, oh, actually, So I was thinking I'd fold it over and tape it in place until I'm ready to do the full application. But the first thing I really need to do is peel up this edge. I'm going to have to just kind of cut back this material very gently. Oh. I can use the control panel to do so. That's nice. All right, there we go. That works. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give it a nice bend. Really come at it. And we can kind of unstick this and restick this to a degree right now because this is only this kind of 1 inch of material. you have to do it too much, I'm not super worried. This is the back of the control panel. It can be a little imperfect. You can have some little folds and things. But the goal here is just to get myself like a really good starting base to get it nice and secure, get that first bend kind of going. And then I come through with this guy and try to, work out a little bit of the rough spots. Again, rough spots will be on the back. Also, this section in particular will be covered by that weird piece of wood that we cut. So I think we're okay. And then what I want to do is bend in this side piece and take that down in a couple spots. And like what this is going to do, so like this is peeling away pretty easily. I'm wondering. So let me double check the front, make sure I'm pretty happy. I think that looks pretty good. Pretty far south of the joystick. Feel out. There's player 1 start, player 2 start. Like I said, they're going to be on the letters. There's kind of no way around it. Both of these guys, they're going to run over the edge a little bit, but they're going to be pretty visible with their logos and all that. So I think, again, conversion kit, it's going to be what it's going to be. So, but I don't want to necessarily, so I think what I want to do, alright, this got a little dirty, so let's make sure this is cleaned up. Alright, give me a sec, I'm just going to clean this up real quick. Alright, my battery on the phone is dying, so this may cut out, but what I want to do is try to peel away kind of just this section right over the top, and then we can deal with the bottom when that part is done. It's going to be tricky, but I think, oh, okay. Okay, that was pretty doable. So let's flip this over like this, and then what I want to do is come in with my squeegee and my roller. Get this thing as down as it'll kind of stretch, and really just work out any of the air bubbles. Use my roller. Yeah, it just doesn't look good enough. So that's gonna be covered too. Put the dust washer on top. Nobody cares. Except me. Except me, because I'm being pedantic. I want the dust washer to be under, but nobody gives a shit. Oh, hope that doesn't get me in trouble on YouTube. Alright. Alright. Now the ones that I've made tricky for myself are going to be the player 1 and 2. There's like player 1 and 2 start buttons at the bottom. I am thinking more and more that I am going to wire them up that way. Not tonight, because, you know, the JAMA harness only has like one button 1 and one button 2, and this thing needs 2 of them, so I'm going to have to split the wiring harness and stuff. Between the plexi work and this, it's already been a night. So, but I'm thinking in a future video, kind of go through my approach to that. All right. Like I said, these little imperfections on the edges will be covered up by the buttons pretty well. Yeah, I am pretty darn happy with how it came out, especially for my first time. All right, let's get these ones. It's actually a decent bit harder when you can't see the hole that you're trying to cut out. Lesson learned for my next arcade restoration, if and when that ever happens. Don't wrap it on both sides. There you are. This is also not a brand new craft knife blade. I probably should have bought a new blade before starting this, but there we go. So let me get it put back together, and we'll see what this looks like on the cabinet. All right. This thing, I think it looks great. Obviously, this side's not looking as great. And obviously, this side's just black. But for right now, front view, I love it. Control panel is looking pretty great. The bezel, the game, and then this marquee. You can barely tell. I'll zoom in. You can see it's there. It's imperfect, but it's mine. And now I know next time I need to cut the plexi that you just got to make sure you do it all in one cut. That board definitely helped the table saw really get it. And I don't know, the scoring approach just doesn't seem like the way to go for me. But yeah, this is pretty great. All right, so I just got this installed. Didn't film it because it's, you know, just a couple of bolts. But this is a brand new Suzo-Hap coin door to fit this machine. And I think this is part of getting these buttons moved down here. The first step was getting a new coin door because the old one had this giant hole in it from where the bill acceptor had been. It was also missing bulbs and things, and so just kind of nice to have a brand shiny new coin door. So the first thing I want to do is I've desoldered the power leads, the 12-volt lines from the JAMA harness that were going to these old buttons, and I want to solder these on here, and then I need to figure out how I'm dealing with ground. So with these, I'm probably just going to daisy chain these, and then I'm thinking I have this ground lead here that I can daisy chain across. I'll probably end up cutting this a bit shorter so that there's not much loose wire. Let's start with just trying to get this first side on. Now this is that's good. Let's see. Okay. One's in good shape. And the other one's having some trouble, so we've probably got a connection that's not me. Both those connections on that side. Actually, you know what? I have pulled this web bulge. Oh, yep, there we go. The wedge bulb was out. Let's tuck some of this back in, see how it looks from the front. Oh yeah, looks pretty good. It's hard to see in the daylight, but yeah, we definitely got some glow on those. Now, what I'm thinking for the for coining this thing up is, so this is a brand new coin door. It's not an old piece. I'm not worried about hurting it. I've got these red push buttons, and I'm thinking we're gonna drill holes maybe here and here, and put those red push buttons in there and then wire those up. So that'll be the next step. But for right now, it's pretty good. Getting ready to drill the hole for the push button. The push button is pretty big, so I think I need about a 1/2 inch hole. Got this here. Always add a washer or something if it's not quite what I need. So I want to take a look at the back of the door. And so yeah, we've got about here would be good. And what I want to do is just drill the first one, and then we can measure how far in and how far down it is, and use that to kind of use the location of this one center to center the second one on the other side. Okay. Whew. A little bit of extra metal hanging up there. Let's see if we can get that off. Oh yeah. There we go. Come through with a vacuum later and suck those all up. All right, where the heck did I put? There's the switch. Let's see how that fits. Oh yeah, that's a nice fit. And then that switch comes with a washer and a nut. So if we get those on there. So one thing I realized is I actually had ordered some smaller gauge quick disconnects. And so you'll see, you know, this quick disconnect. So let's see if I can bring it in here. So these ones on the button, it's not focusing great, but they are a lot smaller than these ones on like a standard switch. But I do have ones that'll fit. So once we get these guys installed, let's see how that looks. Yeah, that's perfect. So, coin 1, coin 2, and we'll be good to go. Let me get the other one installed. Like I said, I'm just gonna kind of measure to position my drill on the other side. Ooh, we actually might want to go here, because on the other side there is this little thing here. Looks like it's some sort of mounting bracket. So I think we're going to want to go right about here, but I'll measure the distance down so that they're at about the same height, and then we'll look at wiring these. So each of the buttons that was being used before to control the coin switches has its own separate green lead, and then they share a ground. So what I want to start with is I'm just going to snip all those leads off. Since I'm going to be adding quick disconnects, should be able to just come through, snip each one. Now, one thing I'm not sure of is which one is coin 1 and which one is coin 2. But that's okay, especially because we're going to have quick disconnects. So, shouldn't be, if I can get these crimped on properly, it should not be all that big a deal to switch these around. Alright, so let's see. So I'm not sure if it comes up well on camera, but this piece has kind of several, it's got a pair of holes in it and a little channel behind it. I don't know exactly what it's for. Kind of hoping that this is what it's for. What I want to do is just run all of these wires in back there and then stick some zip ties. So let's see. Just run all my wires over this way. Grab a zip tie. Thread it through the hole. Okay. Bring our wire bundle over. This is not what it's for. I don't know what it is for, but this is what I'm using it for. So, oh well. So there we go. So that. Oh no! I missed my ground wire. Alright. Time to find flush cutters. So, the next part. Let's redo these buttons. So we can easily take these off without necessarily taking the whole control panel off. Probably gonna have to do that at some point for this. Probably after these buttons come off, I'll crack open the control panel and move the camera. We can deal with it from that perspective. And these buttons, they look great. They're just, you know, they're not accurate. And the more art I add to this thing, the more I want it to look correct. So, I think that this is definitely how. So the first part of this should be fairly simple. I'm just gonna link the switches out of these two white player start buttons. And then I'll remove the POW nut. And I'm just going to take them out of where they were. Put them into these lower slots. And that's about it. Realistically. Shouldn't be much more to it than that. Try to make sure they're fairly straight since they do have the logo. And they have the player 1 and player 2 stuff kind of printed on the front. But other than that, not much to it. And then the big thing is going to be, oh, nope, that's okay. I forgot, I have other quick disconnects that are the proper size for these micro switch contactors. I believe it's 0.187. I believe the other ones might have been 0.110. But what we are going to do, we're going to have to split these buttons. So, where'd the other switch go? Oh, here it is. I probably need to rework these grounds. Although honestly, these are all going to need ground. I could deal with, chopping and splitting and crimping all the grounds. But realistically, got this whole stack of ground connections. So once we have everything in place, I'm just going to disconnect all the grounds for now. And once we have everything in place, it should be pretty trivial to have enough ground connections for all the buttons. So really, what we want to do is we want to take these two connections, blue and the purple. And actually, I'll be back in a sec. I need to grab the buttons I'm using here. Well, I don't know where they are at. I know that I bought enough switches for all 6 new buttons. Brand new cherry switches, but the 2 that went with these buttons have gone missing. Should be okay though, because I do have these white cherries I found in the old machine, and I honestly don't think the ambidextrous controls are going to get a lot of play. They are mostly just here, like I said, to kind of keep this accurate to its kind of Jungle Hunt legacy in the control layout. So it's giving me a little bit of a hard time going in. That's interesting. Not sure why that is. Maybe this one's just getting caught up on the vinyl for some reason. The button that was in here didn't have any trouble coming out. And the blue button didn't have any trouble going in. But shouldn't be a big deal. It's power nut screwed down. Alright, now before I put the switch in, I want to grab my 0.187 quick disconnect and just make a double, triple check. Ooh. I think I might actually need to squeeze down the connecting side. It fits pretty nicely, but it's just not biting very much. That's okay, we can take care of that. Thinking. Alright, so start with the red button. And blue wire. I honestly think you could probably just reuse this wire. We do just, let's see, how much space do we have? About an inch. Yeah, just about there. Okay. So we'll come in here and snip it. And then strip both sides. Twist them together. So really want to make sure these are twisted together in a very kind of fine point so that they can slip right into the little hole and a quick disconnect. Get the crimper. Now the only problem up here is going to be there's no way that I'm going to be able to stomp it with my foot. which is what I needed last time. So I'm just going to need to at least disconnect this, get some leverage over here. Well, I don't know if that method is going to potentially damage stuff, so I don't know that I would say I recommend it, but, you know, as I keep needing to crimp things, prepare yourself to see a lot more of that. That was infinitely easier. Okay. Get these guys back out. Tighten up here. Okay, there we go. So we've got all our main leads. Now let me just grab trusty old flush cutters, cut off that old zip tie, and we're going to just do this process again of daisy chaining. It's 18 possible grounds on this portion that's going over to the control panel. So, right, I think we're in pretty good shape. I think the only way to know for sure is going to be to latch down the control panel and fire up the machine. We'll give it a test. All right, let's fire it up and see what we've got. I don't know if you can tell, but there's lights on the coin slots now. which is nice. Now the one thing to watch out for is earlier, oh yay, Rygar is right side up. Earlier I was getting some bugginess where Rygar was upside down. I'm guessing I need to reseat some of the socketed ICs. Alright, so let's test coin 1. Nice. Coin 2. Perfect. Alright, there's something going on with the player 1 start, player 2 start. I thought I put switches in those, but it kind of felt like there wasn't a switch behind them. What's going on there? Oh! They have switches, but usually keep a couple grounds around. They don't have grounds. So ground both of those. Ooh, okay, so you can't quite stretch this over to here, but that's okay. We've got plenty of room on this neutral plane. Grab, hopefully, our final zip tie of the evening. To tie up the remaining neutral returns. Put this back on. I really need to get this booted because I really want to test that the secondary attack and jump work with. It'll be kind of nice. I'm not going to get much use out of the ambidextrous nature of this, because the idea here, right, if you're right-handed, you do left on the joystick, right on the controls. If you're left-handed, you do like this. But my father is left-handed, so it can be helpful. All right, let's see. Boom, there we go. Player 1 start. And if I add another coin, I hit player 2 start. Well, I might have to do that again. Alright. So, right, up, down. Okay, that's all working to jump. And if I come over here, this is going to be really bad. I'm playing with my non-dominant hand, but, alright, back and jump working great. Okay. Let's reboot it once and double check the 2-player start. So I believe the way that Rygar worked is you insert 2 points and you hit 2-player start from the beginning. There's a buy-in feature, but that's buried in dip switches. I don't know how to access it. Okay, there we go. So 2 credits, 2-player start, got player 1, player 2. All of these work. This works. Yeah, awesome. So I think this is a great kind of final state for the control panel.
Alright, so what did I learn? Well, the number one thing I learned is that I need to not be afraid. I think you could tell both with the plexi and with the vinyl, there came a point where what I'd read and what I'd researched just wasn't working, and I just kind of had to go with my gut and try a couple of different things and make it work. And sure enough, I love it. I love the way it came out. So I need to just, kind of remove myself from, I feel like I watch a lot of videos of guys who've been doing this for a long time, and I want to do things the way they do them, but I have to be okay with the fact that, maybe that's not how I'm going to do it. That's okay. The other thing is that original is awesome. I'll be honest, I was a little afraid ordering the replacement control panel overlay. I think it looks good, don't get me wrong. But I love having the original marquee in there. It goes awesome with the original bezel that I found in the machine. I am loving it. And so I think, when I started this process, I was really looking at buying reproduction artwork. And I think that going forward, I'm going to be looking for used, decent condition pieces, first and foremost. If I can't find them, reproductions are always there. Control panel overlays, you can't really get them frequently. Although Charlie from Overtime Arcade did show me a new hold stock control panel overlay for Rygar. Just happened to be after this video was shot. The last thing is just that mistakes are okay. Particularly, with the marquee, made some mistakes in cutting the plexi. One of the big ones is I noticed, kind of reviewing the video and thinking back to what I did. It's actually funny. It's a woodworking mistake that I've known for years. But I think just being late night, being excited, I did it. And that mistake is that when, I kind of made the initial cut, that was nice and clean. And then when I went to restart the cut, for some reason I really was worried about the positioning of things. And what I did was I had the wood over top and the plexi basically right in contact with the saw when I turned the saw on. And the problem with that is that the saw doesn't just start spinning at the fast cutting speed, right? It starts off slower, it builds up speed. And it doesn't take long, it takes maybe a second to come up to speed. But when it's going at that lower speed, that's when the impact tends to crack and break things. It does that to wood too. It's not just plexiglass. So again, simple mistake. It's okay. It's mostly hidden and it's mine. But just something for those of you out there who might want to try to learn from this. Just an amateur woodworking mistake. Obviously, it's my first time cutting plexiglass, so I don't have a breadth of experience. But I really think that process would have worked incredibly well had I just done the cut through and through all in one motion, or if I'd restarted it with the material not right where the blade was. So, lesson learned, but I'm loving where this cabinet is, and in the next piece we are going to return to stripping paint, and I am going to give it the old college try with a new method that Charlie from Overtime Arcade showed. He used it on a Miss Pac-Man, and I think a Joust, using isopropyl alcohol, paper towels, and saran wrap. And the idea is it's a lengthier process, but it's gentler, and the hope is that it would remove just the top layer of paint. And if we can get that going, then we might be able to salvage the art on one side of the cabinet and only have to repaint the other side. Alright, so if you liked what you saw, please give us a like and a subscribe, and I will see you guys on the next one.